Good evening and welcome to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Tambi. And this evening we have one of our frequent guests who hasn't been on our program for some time because he's been very busy with all his duties, and I am pleased to welcome Honorable Harshana Nanayakkara, Minister of Justice and National Integration. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Niresh, for having me. Good evening.
Right, so you have a vast area to cover, and every time you come on this program, we do try to cover all these areas, and you give an update of what's going on, because this is justice and national integration, which was one of the most neglected and abused and corrupted areas of Sri Lanka. When you talk about what went on with the various departments, whether it's the police or the prisons or so on, and a lot of work has to be done. So, Minister, tell me, first let's start off with the PTA, the Prevention of Terrorism Act. It's been hanging over our heads like the sword of Damocles since 1979, and of course the NPP promised to abolish it, and this is ongoing, but could you give us an update, because the sooner that's gone and perhaps replaced with something more palatable, the better.
Thank you, Niresh. Yes, as we promised, as we know that PTA, it has such ugly past and how it has been used, so it has been one of our central promises. So that we appointed the committee headed by the President's Council, and we brought up an initial draft. Now, this initial draft, we did it with consultation of so many parties, even including the UN. So we wanted to make sure that when we get rid of the PTA, whatever the new law that is going to come should be properly defined, and it should not interfere with people's liberties, including the freedom of speech and association, because we are ourselves a party who suffered with draconian laws. So what we did was, once we did the draft, as you know, we don't need to do a public consultation. We could have gone to the Supreme Court. Then they have 2 weeks to challenge it at the Supreme Court. But we decided otherwise, because it's such a contentious piece of legislation, and we really wanted the people to have a say on it. So that's why I think somewhere around December I declared 2 months, that is till the 28th of February. It's there in the website, official website, in all the 3 languages, so people could read and write and comment on it. And right now a lot of paper articles are going on it, and then people are sending more and more suggestions. We are compiling them. So after the 20th of February, the committee will get back together to look at these suggested changes. But also, let me not caution you, but just tell you that we firmly believe that the people must know what this is, because the law, otherwise you won't take ownership. But this such a contentious piece of legislation, everybody has a view on it, and those views has a massive range, from the type who says we don't need a PTA or a law on terrorism, to those who say no, we need one, and in between with the submission. So I don't think I'm going to come up with any legislation that is going to be approved by all, but in general, firstly, it has to be constitutional. Secondly, by and large, people must accept it. So what we have done is we have inserted a lot of safety features to it. I can explain one or two. The main thing is, now if you look at the Prevention of Terrorism Act, I'm not going to talk about everything. It had offences and it had punishments, no mental element or anything like that. So for an example, if some students deface a board or something of the university, you can even be charged under the PTA for terrorism or under the normal law for vandalizing. But in this law, what we are bringing in, the most important section is section 3.1 and section 3.2, which we call the trigger offences. So in 3.1 we have the mental element, and 2 has the actus reus, or the physical element, the result needed, right? For example, both has to be completed, both has to be satisfied before it becomes offence under the act. For an example, if you look at section 3.1, it says 5 levels of state of mind: provoking of state of terror, intimidating the public or any section of the public, compelling the government of Sri Lanka or any other government or international organization to do or to abstain from doing any act, propagating war or violating territorial integrity or infringing the sovereignty of Sri Lanka or any other sovereign country. Now, without these 5, four categorized intentions, nothing becomes an act of terrorism under the act. Not only that, the other element is a consequence also must ensue, right?
So this is defining what
it.
terrorism is. It's, you know, because as the PTA stands and has stood for 40 odd years,
interpreted by the executive.
Yes, you could be arrested under the PTA for walking down the street, basically.
That can be done, but not here.
Right.
Because one thing is should have the mental element. The other one is some physical consequences. What are they? The death of a person, hurt, hostage taking, abduction or kidnapping. Now let me say.
So nothing hypothetical there.
Nothing hypothetical. Let's say you want to, now you are satisfying, you wanted to provoke a state of terror. But if none of these things come,
then there's no terror.
There's no terror. That means you cannot be charged or arrested under the act. I'll give you one simple example. It also has a couple of other things, such as serious damage to any place of public use, any public property or any public or private transportation system or any infrastructure, facility or environment. I'll give you the example to explain the section. Now, somebody is saying, I want the transport minister out of the office. And then he goes, damages the railway tracks. So now, as you can see, there's a mental element, what he wants, and the physical act of damage the railways, transportation system, which is very much within the consequences. But can he be arrested for terrorism? No. Why? His intention was to force the minister to resign, not to provoke a state of terror or to do anything of that sort. You get what I mean?
Absolutely.
So therefore, now we have specifically said in section 3, subsection 4, the fact that a person engages in any protest, advocacy or dissent, or engages in any strike, lockout or other industrial action is not by itself a sufficient basis for interfering in inferring that such person trying to commit an offense. So even that we have done. So I'm sure there are other places where people would want more changes, which we are very much willing to accept. That's why the public consultation is there. But by and large, these sections will prevent the executive. Now, right now you can do forum shopping. You can decide whether to go under PTA or this. But under this act, you can't. Because these two elements have to kick in. These two sections have to kick in. Otherwise, distributing a terrorist publication or cyber attack or whatever, if these intentions are not there, the consequences are not there, you cannot be arrested or charged under the new law.
Well, that's certainly a major improvement from the PTA, but of course it remains to be seen what the final draft is like, and I'm sure once that comes out, you'll be back on this program to explain further. Just one question I have on this new act. Now, under the PTA, magistrates had very limited powers. Basically, the executive signed an order and people could basically be locked up for months and months, and it was very difficult for a magistrate to give bail. But what about under this?
This time around, I cannot go exactly with the sections, I don't remember right now, but there's provision for the magistrate to grant bail. Every 14 days must be produced before the magistrate.
So it then operates like a normal law.
Normal law, but
yes,
you can get detention up to 2 months. You can only extend every 2 months.
Right.
Can go up to a year.
Right.
Every 2 months. But the magistrate has the discretion to grant bail.
Right.
So this law allows magistrate to grant bail.
Yes. So the detention order, which is signed by the executive, does not override the magistrate.
Magistrate has the discretion, and
right,
this one, generally the detention orders will be signed by the secretary.
Yes.
Of the ministry on the instructions of the IGP or the request of the DIG or IGP. And basically what we have done is making sure, now look at it, it's like this. As much as we need to protect the freedoms and liberties of people, we need to protect terrorism also. That's why even England has a law on terrorism.
To prevent terrorism.
To prevent
yes,
terrorism. to stop financing terrorism. Because as much as the individual has the liberty and the right to be able to do what they want, other people also have the right to be safe. So the government has to do a balancing act, because previously the PTA, it's about when it's done, you punish them. This law is not about that. This is about prevention, right? Prevention of financing or sponsoring, aiding and abetting. So it's a huge thing where in the global scene of things, you will need a law. Otherwise, you cannot protect your own citizens. But the problem is, will the government misuse it? Now, this is where the doubt and tension comes. That's why they're asking for so many safety features to be drawn in. And that's what we have done in this law also. But as you know, when we speak, as I say, you can draft many laws with all the safety features, but you keep the law in the hands of uncivilized rogues, it will be done in a different manner.
Right. Yes, we have had a long history of weaponizing laws and using them as weapons against the very people, the public, whom the laws are designed to protect. And so it's a question of how these laws are applied as well. But of course, if the magistrates have the power and the discretion, then the weaponizing of the law is can only be limited.
Absolutely, it can only be, because all you can do is, even in the UN when they told us, was make sure there's judicial supervision at every possible stage, which we have. Make sure that the people have access to a relative must be informed. And in this, can you remember the infamous confessions, that you can be convicted on a confession,
yes,
taken by ASP, gone in this act. You can only record a statement before magistrate in the presence of the lawyer of the accused. Otherwise, no confessions are taken in. So we have drawn in many safety features, not that we have not. And if the public is saying more safety needed, why not? We will consider all that. But the whole idea is that we are given this 2 months for people to come. So it's always, if the people at the election make the right choice to appoint civilized people who have no personal ambitions, which is the NPP government, right? People are safe. Otherwise, no matter, you can draft your law in England and bring it here. But if the fellows who are implementing the law are having anything other than justice in their mind, then of course it will collapse. One of the reasons why we were brought into power by the people. And so far we have not used the ICCPR Act or any way to harass people or intimidate.
But the PTA has been used, of course.
Yes, we had to use it because, as I thought, we were dealing with a lot of underworld situations which were threatening national security. And some, they are not Tamil law persons as such, but some underworld characters have been there. So because they were threatening national security and trying to destabilize. As we said, that we have to use whatever the laws in our arsenal to prevent crime. But when this is gone, hopefully within the next 2 months, by March, the old PTA will be gone and the new one will come into place. And then
well, the problem with using the PTA even for such
yes,
benevolent purposes is that the PTA has a history which triggers even people like myself. We have had to live and work under this, and when we hear that term PTA, it's a red flag, isn't it?
I agree. We have to get rid of it. But as a state, we also have the responsibility to use whatever is there to stabilize the situation. But not that we are very happy about it, so we have not used it for the last few months or so.
Right. Now, Harshana, there were several other acts, other laws, which were contentious. The Online Safety Act, for example, which in its original form was absolutely authoritarian, but what was finally passed was a watered down version, but still quite strong, too strong in fact, and civil society and international organizations have pointed this out. And we see that the OSA is still there, but at the same time we also see a lot of online bullying, cyberbullying, this a lot of misinformation, disinformation, all that is going on as well. And specifically, the OSA was supposed to protect women and children. And is there a reluctance to use the OSA? And at the same time, what is the status of amending the Act?
Yes, you are absolutely spot on, because we were the first people to object to the OSA where it was drafted, with the president appointing some certain people and there not being an appeal from the finding of the relevant council or whatever they have. So we objected to it. So what did we do? We appointed now Viraj Dayaratna, President's Counsel, who is the Solicitor General. He has promised that they've been working for the last 3 to 4 months on it to update the law. And he promised that he will hopefully, by the end of this month, he'll give me an initial draft. Again, then it'll be up in my hands to, but actually I'm not the line ministry for that. I believe it's the Ministry of Media, right? So it's media, I'm just assisting, but it'll come out by January. Now, again, there are two sides to it. Freedom of speech. Being abusive, cyberbullying
is not freedom
of speech. It's not freedom of speech. Now, if you look at in the recent past, I mean, be honest about it. Has there been any government who have been ridiculed and harassed, baseless, fake news than our government? It's our government, right? Look at from when you have to, when there are education reforms, they don't talk about the substance. They gone personally attacking and trying to create a personal issue for the Prime Minister. Baseless allegations about UNRWA, even about me. They say we are taking this and that. So I think there's a necessity. Because remember, 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, we may have not needed much stricter laws to regulate online content. But now, with the trends of creation by AI, recently I saw some nice one created about me, my voice, AI. But it was just a joke about me talking about some biscuits in a parliament clip. I thought that was really funny, good one, right?
It may be funny, but it's not legal to do that.
It's not legal to do that.
Yes.
We have no personal law. So what I have told the committee to consider is that right now we are not using it because we are the ones who objected to the law as it is. But because the law is there, there are so many other private parties who are using the act. But for this act to materialize or activate itself, to function proper, there's a regulatory authority, which we did not appoint. Simply because we know this law needs to be updated. But we are very mindful of hate speech. I mean, forget about the government. We are politicians. Let them say whatever they want against us. We know what we do, so it's not a problem. But what about people? Personal lives are destroyed. So I think when it comes, we will be able to cover most of the false contents and proper regulatory mechanisms. But still, it won't cover things like defamation. Defamation, people will have to still rely on the old civil law. Yeah, for an example, there are certain people saying certain things about our Prime Minister. For an example, are defamations. I mean, telling that our MPs are planting ganja or running chainas of ganja are created by 2 TV channels. So that certain TV channels who do that. So I think Nalinda, our minister, is watching very closely how they use their their channels. We'll watch them closely. But we are not people who are fearful of. I mean, no television station got burned down during our time, like it happened to Sirasa, right? I mean, we did not abduct anyone on a white van. We don't. Because we are a government who are very confident with what we are doing, and the majority of the population are with us. But the people who are backing us are saying, Mr. Nanayakkara was wrong. You all have 2/3 majority. Act. Well, take those buggers in, do that, do this. True. And I thank them for the love they show. But the reality is what? Yes, we have 2/3 power. Yes, we have 159. Yes, we are powerful. When we are powerful, we still don't own this country. We have to listen to people. We have to abide by the law. The government is a creature of the law and it is supposed to abide by the law. So this is why you don't see that what you have seen, van abductions or other gangster type things you don't hear. Simply because people gave us power to change this political culture and we are doing it. Right now, if you look at some members of the opposition, I mean not the Tamil northern parties, they are hell bent on not even supporting the no confidence motion, and also they are distancing themselves from the personal attacks. So ultimately it's only the SJB who has created this political culture. They don't realize that people look down on them for doing what they are doing. But anyway, that is the state of the online safety bill also.
Right. You presented certain bills in Parliament, including recently the Parliamentary Pensions Bill as well. Would you like to explain something about that?
As you can see that, I mean, we gave a comprehensive a policy document intending to carry out the promises in them. From time to time, there are certain MPs asking, oh, you have not fulfilled this promise, you have not fulfilled that. So this is one of them. It was in the our manifesto. Yes. In the manifesto, one of them was to abolish the pensions of the facilities of the ex-presidents, which we have done. This is to do with members who are obtaining a pension after serving for 5 years as a member of parliament. People said it is not fair that people serve for just 5 years and get a pension, whereas average government servant will have to work for 20-30 years or more before they get a pension. And this pension is even non-contributory in nature, and even their families can afford it. So we said, yes, we will abolish it. So when this bill becomes law, which it will, I have only done the first reading so far, anyone, those who have been drawing the salary, drawing the pension all these years, it will cease to exist. And for new MPs like us, anyway, it won't be there. So basically, that pension entitlement is no more after this becomes law, hopefully by March or before.
Right, that's good news indeed. We have a lot more to discuss, but right now we'll take a short commercial break. I am in conversation with the Minister of Justice and National Integration, Harshana Nanayakkara. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
There needs to be a revision of the curriculum particularly. And in our country, this, for various reasons, this has not happened for about 10 years.
Let's do education reforms, but let's do it later.
Quality of the professional development and how it fits within the entire system needs improvement, and that's what we are working on.
Education, reform, and the battle for the classroom. An exclusive interview with Prime Minister Dr. Hariniyamara Surya tomorrow at 8 p.m. on TV1 and on Newsfirst digital platforms.
අධ්‍යාපනය සහ රාජ්‍ය ප්‍රතිපත්ති වලට සම්බන්ධයි අද මාතෘකාව.
අපේ රටේ අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය වෙනස් වෙන දියුණු වෙන ලෝකයක් එක්ක නෙවෙයි.
සර්ව බලධාරී දෙයියෝ නෙමෙයි ආදරණීය වේතුනේ නිදහස් අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රතිපත්තිය. ඒක තමයි ගමේ ඉඳන් ළමයට නගරයට ශිෂ්‍යත්වයට අරන් එන්න වෙලා තින්නේ.
රැකියාවක් ලබා දෙනවා කියලා අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රතිපත්තිය කොහෙවත් තැනක තියෙනවා දැකලා තියෙනවද ඔබතුමා?
Sirasa Debater with AAT Sri Lanka.
ඉරිදා සවස් 6ට.
Yeah, this is the moment. The mic is calling. Season 3.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I am with Harshana Nanayakkara, Minister of Justice and National Integration. Harshana, national integration is something which has been much neglected for many, many years. And of course, there were reasons that it wasn't a priority, such as the government going bankrupt, for goodness sake. It couldn't do anything, basically, let alone integrate the nation. Now, the Chemmani mass grave is very symbolic here, because it is something which strikes at the very heart of what went on, the abuses that went on over the years. And the excavations began last year, and there was a lot of publicity, and the excavations are continuing, I believe. So what's the status there?
Well, Chemmani seems to have taken the limelight of things, but currently we are engaging with about 15 sites. The Office of Missing Persons, as I think your viewers are aware, it's on court orders we work, but we are the ones who are assisting the process. Now, when it comes to Chemmani, as you know, it was accidentally discovered when they were trying to do create a new crematorium. They accidentally discovered. So from that time onwards, we've been assisting them and allocating all the monies necessary. So it's the forensic scientists and the experts. They do it phase by phase. That means they don't at a stretch do something. First they earmark a particular area they'll do. Once they finish that area, they decide what they're going to do next with the available evidence. So every stage, the High Court of the area, on the instruction of the magistrate, send us the budget that we need this amount of money. So that budget we always tend to release, because the challenge with Chemmani, like with other ones, is that now we are preparing to consult some foreign countries who are helping us for DNA testing when it becomes necessary. But first of all, this Chemmani area has been under the LTT control till about 1995. So when you say a mass grave, it's one thing. First you have to figure out the cause of death. Most probably it won't be a problem because it is trauma, that there'll be enough forensics. Secondly, for the first time I think in this country, we gave the public an opportunity to view all those photographed artifacts and everything to identify. So right now the CID is on the investigation, gathering data, gathering from people, showing those pictures. We have photographed everything to see whether they could identify their loved ones, whether they have complained about their missing ones. Because it's a different matter to say that somebody, okay fine, they suffered trauma, it's a mass grave. But before we go for a criminal trial or before we do anything of that sort, first you have to be able to, someone should be able to tell, this is my daughter's earring or this is this, and then we can do the DNA. Otherwise you can't do a mass DNA. It's going to cost massive millions in dollars for us. So right now the CID is gathering that information, and I believe on the 19th January case is getting called again for the next phase of the excavations. But right, it is proceeding.
Is there any issue with funding? Because excavation of a mass grave is a very painstaking scientific process. A lot of people are involved, and therefore it requires a lot of funding. Is there any issue with the budgets for this?
Absolutely none, because what the president had told me is that, I mean, we have spoken before in this program that for us it's not about eye washing, because the north and the east and the south, we are all one. So therefore the money is available. Every time they send, the money is available. But there are some media outlets in the north, when there's a slight delay of a payment coming, they say, oh, I think there are certain lawyers who would come out and give the voice cut saying, can't go ahead because the government is not giving money, which is absolutely and utterly false. Even as we speak, there's 2.2 million in the High Court account books without being utilized. That's how much money we have given, right? So therefore, after 2 weeks, they do stop, or 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how they do it. and face by face we have always released. But there have been instances where have been some communication delay, some things have not gone. And this time I even intervened because they have sent the newest budget for 19 million, which I have approved. 19 million we are going to release. But before we can release the money from the new budget, they have to return the 2.2 million which is underutilized, not utilized. So what happens? Sometimes the courts, sometimes working staff, they wait for the last minute and say, sorry, we can't do it today because money has not come. But nobody is going to say the money did not come because you have not returned your 2.2 million first. So other than little hiccups like that, money has always been available.
Procedural.
Money has always been available.
Right. Then let's look at the Office of Missing Persons, OMP. Again, this over the years, this was something of a white elephant. There were many well-intentioned professionals who tried their best to work in that office, the OMP, but it never seemed to get going. What is the situation now?
You can't blame the OMP for that, because you see, even when I walked in the north, when I speak to the citizens of the north, they hate the OMP. They don't trust them at all. They say they just come and talk, write things down, nothing happens. You see, it is not the office. When there's no political will, things don't move. Now, OMP was heavily understaffed. Now, finally, I've got 65 people approved for the Office of Missing Persons. How can they function without staff? And they tell me today, sir, can't we get another vehicle? So I know there are vehicle problems, but recruited 65. And also, thank you for asking that. Now, what is the main job of the OMP? Is to investigate the complaints of the missing persons. But did it happen? Only once it happened when it started, but nothing happened after 2022 or 21 rather. Now, they are appointing today, I had the discussion. We are appointing 75 people, 15 panels, 3 in each, to expedite hearing of all the missing person complaints. For that, I think 175 million I got approved from the cabinet also. Now that process will start. So because see, the missing numbers can only come down, it can't go up. But I fully understand the grievance of the people, that, I mean, the same sentiment that you expressed. But our job is to change it. It's not easy when people hate the thing. I mean, it's like a cop's uniform, isn't it? I mean, no matter whatever the cop does, as long as you see that uniform, you're not very happy. But that is what we have to work with. So I believe the Office of Missing Persons this year, we are targeting about 5,000, 6,000 complaints to investigate, finish off, and to pay their reparations. And not only that, I am getting some help to draft a reparation policy. I mean, not just a token thing, but a complete package, psychosocial, once and for all. Because we have to help them to recover. We have to help them to come to a closure in their issues. Just like everything else in this government machinery, ministers and the MPs are working, and the Prime Minister and President, we are working like dogs. We are pushing like mad. But it moves only inches at a time. But I believe with the 65 people coming in, we will be in a good shape.
Right. What about staffing in your other departments? And I think you have 20 odd departments under
24.
you. 24.
I gave one away to Ministry of Law and Order, my rehabilitation bureau. Right. I gave it to him, so I'm down to 23. If there are any other ministers who want more, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so your 23 departments,
yeah.
You had a big issue with staffing, from the Aegis department to the legal draftsmen and prisons and so on.
There are places that I'm okay. After 2022, no recruitments ever took place. If you take something like the Ministry of Education, after 2017 they have not recruited teachers. So therefore there was a massive staff shortage issue. I also had 6,024 and I still have the same, but luckily now around 1,900 odd for all my 24 departments, I am getting staff. So basically approval came and we are recruiting them new. Even to, especially I am looking at the government analyst department. The prison overcrowding, the biggest problem, the delay of the government analyst reports. I am getting 50 on contract basis and another 16 on a permanent basis. Again, one may wonder why you want to go on a contract basis, because you know why? When you try to absorb people to this, first you have to set an exam. Education department or state or someone does it. Then you have to wait for a time slot in the exam. Then you hold the exams, right? After marking the results, you do whatever the interviews. Believe me, it will take 1.5 years. It will take 1.5 years. My problem is now, but the government regulations will give me the workers in 1.5 years.
So that doesn't work, does it?
It doesn't work.
Yes.
So I'm going on a contract basis, and I'm sure there are independent commissions, the Public Service Commission and Management Services. Good, we have to have them. There should be rules, but sometimes the certain machinery that we keep to run things well and smooth are sometimes, becoming obstacles. But that's good. And legal draftment department, I'm getting more. So those things are now taking place, being recruited.
Right. What about your move to set up new courts? I mean, you did set up some. The last time you were here, you announced it.
Yes.
What's the situation now?
Those courts are moving, and I'm very happy and I'm very proud to say our Chief Justice is a man with a mission. He is definitely on a mission. He's really cleaning up a lot in the court system. That 4 new courts are there. One of them is functioning. That's where the East attack is now being, trial advice is now being heard. And he has also requested for 17 High Court judges, which I believe I got the approval today from the Prime Minister's committee. So more courts will have to be established, and courts are not enough. You need the steno, you need the office assistant, you need the bookbinder, you need the registrar. So part of the recruitment is now taking place by the Judicial Service Commission, registrars and the ones which are from them. But as I told you, if you call me again next month, I'll be saying the same thing, because these things will take at least 3 to 4 months. But I'm happy to say, at least by mid this year, we'll be up and running on high speed. Now I can say that. Last year I could not. So even now, some courts are going on till about 3:30, 4:30, even 5:30, even the high courts. And also the Chief Justice had a nice drive to clean up of all the clutter from the courthouses, all productions. So that cleaning up came. Then Ditwa came and cleaned up 1 or 2 courthouses on their own. So but anyway, things are moving.
So on that issue, I think one of the biggest challenges in this country's justice system has been high-profile cases. And we just last week, the journalists of this country commemorated the slain editor of the Sunday Leader, Lasantha Wickramatunge, who was a personal friend of mine as well, and we worked together 35 years ago. Now 17 years have gone, and the prospect of justice after so many years is, of course, not good. But it's not just Lasantha, but the names of 44 slain journalists, murdered journalists, were read out at that commemoration ceremony. So clearly, when you have 44 journalists murdered and no charges, no convictions, nothing, the state machinery has been clearly used to suppress the media and to terrorize the media. Now, this is just one set of high-profile cases. We have a lot more which don't involve murdering journalists, but basically we know what they are, Tajuddin and so on. I know it's difficult to prosecute these, but where are we on this? Because this is where justice needs to be seen to be done to the extent that it can be done.
Thank you, Naresh. Now, unlike many other ministers, most of the things I would want to say, I should not be saying. So I'm going to carefully choose my words and talk about cases, because the investigations are ongoing. Not that we want to hide, but firstly, if I tell you that we are focusing over 1,100 cases and 65 cases as priority, one may say, oh, there he is trying to catch the Rajapakshas. There he is trying to catch so and so. Oh, there he is to catch so. Answer is not that. we understand as a government the impact those crimes had on the people. So therefore the CID is focusing on that. The investigations are ongoing, right? They are ongoing. Even the East attack, I'm telling you, ongoing. But when you are doing it, unless you abduct potential accused and slap them to confess, we have to follow the rules. When we are following rules, now for an example, when we are about to arrest someone, he will go and file a writ somewhere. So that 3 months we will have to wait.
So
he will go to hiding.
It's a long process.
It's a long process. And above all, now if you take, say Mr. Lasantha Vikraman's case. Now when did that happen?
17 years ago.
17 years ago. What happens to evidence as time passes by? The new crimes, faster the investigation, we can finish it off. Now Ranil Wickramasinghe's little visit to England, investigations are nearing completion, can go fast. Why? It's new. Evidence is fresh. 17 years ago, it happened. And the perpetrators may have been in positions of power. What would they do? They wipe out everything they can. But we have not stopped the investigation. We are trying. We are trying definitely. There are lot of cases like that. But as it gets older, tracks get wiped out. Even East attack, up to an extent, there is more material there, and more material keep on coming on a regular basis. But remember, those who perpetrated these crimes were in seats of power. So by the time we took it over in 2024, nothing much is left. So hence the delay. That is not the lack of will on our part. And also certain government establishments and certain people, remember, all these people have been appointed, got favors done from previous governments. I am not telling the people to doubt our state machinery, but
well, it's a fact, isn't it?
It's a fact. It's a fact. They are there. So
those people didn't just fade away. They are all still there.
Also there. So we, I mean, just because we have 2/3, we can't bulldoze people. So
now, what about the Office of Special Prosecutor, which is something that almost all political parties agreed on prior to the election?
Yeah.
So there seemed to be some consensus, but now that hasn't happened yet.
We are the only ones who put that in our policy document also, which is now being held by a team of Mr. Asantha Kodagoda. And I also accept the fact that it's moving a bit slow, because what the committee does is basically trying to come out of a provision to have an independent prosecutor's office. Now, see, when you are bringing in a law, you have to make sure there's consensus among the main stakeholders, and we should not be in a rush. Now, I got a letter because I think the Service Association of the Attorney General's Department, not very keen. They have a different set of observations. Maybe because they are not aware of how we are going to do it. We are not trying to close down the Attorney General's Department. What we are trying to do is streamline more on the prosecutions. But even if you look at in England, the Crown Prosecution Service, they have an independent prosecuting service because their Attorney General is a political appointee. Our AG is not a political appointee. So we can have some interdependence between AG and the public prosecutor, the independent one. So there's some resistance, but it's going on smooth. But yes, you are right. I have not been able to move it as fast as I would like due to various circumstances, but it is going on.
I mean, it stands to reason, Harshana, that high-profile cases, because of their impact on society, need to be dealt with in a special way. So, it's the difference between an ordinary human being being murdered, which, of course, that's terrible. It has an impact on that person's family and the neighborhood and all that, but it doesn't have a national impact. Whereas if you murder an editor, or you murder someone prominent, or if there's a bomb blast or something like that, it shakes the psyche of the nation. It's traumatizing everyone. So at that point, you can't just treat it like any ordinary murder. And murder. When I say ordinary murder, that sounds so terrible, doesn't it? But
I get what you're trying to say. Yeah.
So that requires a special prosecutor, and I mean, we saw something like this in South Korea, where they arrested their former president, and it was not the normal police who did that. They have a special department which goes after high-profile suspects. So every country has their different.
You're right. Now the idea of the public prosecutor, that as we are planning, I mean, what you are trying to say is that, yeah, for the death of anyone is an impact for that particular family and the loved ones. But then there are the ones that shocks a nation's conscience.
Absolutely.
So either way, a crime is a crime. So this, when we establish this Department of Prosecution or the independent prosecutor, the idea is there's a perceived conflict of interest, because on the one hand side, AG is the one who advises the government, but he's the same one who prosecutes. So there's a perception.
If it is the government which has murdered somebody,
the AG may be in a soup.
Exactly.
Right? So that's
what is he to advise?
Yeah, right. So that is what we call a perception of conflict of interest. Although there may not be actual one, because they are fairly independent even now. They can decide not to even take on cases sometimes. But justice is something not only should be done, no, it must be seen to be done.
Absolutely.
People will only have faith when they see justice is moving, right? Justice being done. So I'm not saying the Attorney General is not independent, or they are wrong or bad, or they are doing something wrong. I wouldn't say that. But the idea is to get the public image and bring an independent prosecutor. So that person will not have to worry about advising government on policy or representing government at any point, but just have your prosecution guideline. If there's evidence, you prosecute. But still there will be some interdependence. But that I've allowed the committee to come up with. What I've told them was, the idea is an institution the public will trust as independent. There should be interrelationship, because the AG is not a political office here. In England, you can't have, AG is a political office in England, but still we can do it. So I'm waiting for them to come up with the initial plan, because first we want to ascertain the roles, which parts the AG will function, which sections will the prosecutions come. So I'm waiting for that. Yes, I have to expedite them, but running a bit.
But it is happening.
It is happening,
right.
And it has not been turned back. It is happening.
Excellent, excellent. Now, the elephant in the room, the prisons department, which is always in the news.
I was just hoping you forgot to ask that. I was hoping.
Where I think 70% of the people or something like that are in for drug offences, but at the same time, you get most of them are minor drug users and so on, but you get these kingpins, these mafiosas, and they seem to get away with a lot of things. Just last week, I think the STF raided one of the prisons and found so many so many cell phones and so on. What do you do about this?
Okay, first of all, I'm not going to shy away from responsibility by saying this, but this had been going on for 30-40 years anyway. Not 40 years, perhaps 20 years.
I mean, yeah,
for perhaps 20, perhaps 20.
That's common
15,
knowledge.
20. That's common knowledge. And a cell system designed for only 10,500 people, now housing nearly 35,000 because of our drug combating thing, also because of the coming in. Out of 35,000, about 10,000 are convicts. There we won't have a space problem. But the remand section, that comes to about at least 25,000 in remand. Out of the 25,000, at least 20,000 are drugs related. What happened was, the previous government changed the law for granting bail. They said over 10 grams, only the Court of Appeal. So that means even people from Jaffna or Hambantota will have to come to Colombo to do it, and very high cost. And why it was done by the previous regimes, I do not know. But what have I done? I have reversed it now. I am bringing back, with restrictions, jurisdiction back to high courts. So that should create. Otherwise, what's happening with the current situation, you can't even file a bail without the government analyst report. Why? You don't know what the quantity is. So I'm changing it, and soon it will be back with the high court, at least up to a certain grammage.
Right.
Secondly, the delay of government analysis reports, which is again my department, which I told you that I am recruiting for that purpose.
Right.
Right.
So, all told, this should end up with us seeing less.
It has to be, because we cannot
prisoners,
handle the amount of
remand
people
prisoners.
coming in, cannot handle, and we are expanding at a rate. I mean, but buildings, we cannot build buildings at the rate we are enforcing the law and catching the drugs, but we are building. And also about the phones in cells and money and drugs in the prisons. True, you are right. We have not been able to stop. But we have become a massive headache for the inmates. All these years when the previous governments were there, you did not hear much stories about booze, about raids and everything. Why? The previous regimes had a system. You allow a chosen gang to run the place. They run it for you. I'm not saying all my prison officers are bad or corrupt or underworld. But the subculture that exists there is a different one. That is one place I can't even send a decoy to find out what's happening. It's inside. And the STF and we are working, I'm also talking with intelligence, and you may have noticed that I've gazetted a facility in Valisara, because there are some people who has to be kept separately, and within the next 2-3 weeks the special thing will come. We have installed jammers, but they have something to get rid of the jammers. It's a continuous combat, and which we are doing, because I have told so many times before, the underworld has to finish.
Absolutely.
It has to go.
Yes.
We didn't create it, but we are going to finish it, and we are going to try. We are going to try every day, every new technique. If they find something new, we'll find something even newer. But if you ask me, Harshana, when can you stop this completely? I'd say, I don't know, Niresh. I'm an honest politician, so all I can say is what I'm doing.
But you will keep trying.
We'll never give up trying. That's the promise we gave people. And believe me, the underworld has a lot of money. It has a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely. That's our money.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Which vanished and the government went bankrupt and all that. But that is another story, and I'm afraid we are out of time. And as always, it's been a pleasure having you on our show. And thank you very much. This is Harshana Nanayakkara, Minister of Justice and National Integration.
Thank you.
And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.